start with Ben and then go to Wes.
Yeah, Tony, I'm just curious as to your thoughts on Racker's pitching performance and Hundley's as well. Just how nice it was to kind of see those guys do well for the most part after some recent outings.
Yeah, I just walked past Sean and he did really well, and I kind of teased him. He doesn't wear his emotion on his sleeve, but if we would have pulled him in the ninth and used Redmond, he would have been bitter. But if we would have gotten the lead in the eighth, we would have went to Redmond and let him make a shot for the save. But the way it worked, I feel like Sean only threw 10 pitches over the weekend against Vanderbilt. Redmond had 2 appearances. So I think it worked out well where those guys and Kirby have both had 2 outings, going into this next SEC series in recent times. And then with Rackers, I mean, save the, maybe hunting a strikeout the first hitter or just not having the best feel the first hitter. I think he did fairly well. And then, he crossed up Greer, and Greer still could have blocked the ball. So you hate seeing those couple free bases handed out in the first inning. Now, going into the fourth, we sent him out there 1 extra inning that we had planned. That was kind of my decision, and probably just stretched him a little too much. I mean, he did get the first out of the inning. And then after that, gave up a couple, again, free bases. But when he's in the zone, I mean, I felt like he got some uncomfortable swings. And that's a good thing because he's usually kind of a pitch to contact guy, Mr. Consistency anyway. So, we just need to keep getting him out there a little bit so he gets cozy. And, he's a candidate to do a couple different things for us. But I can assure you we are looking for that guy that can give us a couple early zeros in a fourth start type scenario. Regardless of when it is, there'll be several circumstances that come up at the end of the year.
Yeah, Tony, there have been signs that Max has been sort of, kind of clawing his way out of this thing that he had to start the season. A moment like tonight, kind of getting down early in the count, fighting back, getting that hit. Can that jar something loose even more for him? Probably.
I think so. I think overall, what you say is very fair. But I think the more baseball guys drop some of the lingo that gets thrown around the locker room or media or dugout, the better off they are. I mean, the bottom line is Friday's game against Texas A&M is mutually exclusive from this game. Now, he certainly should feel confident because he just, had the biggest hit of the game, and a walk-off hit should give you a boost of self-esteem, self-image, but also you feel like a great teammate. But he's a winner, and that's his number one trait. I think other people have applauded him for other things, but I feel like I've known the kid as well as anyone since he's been here, and he's a winner. That's his number one deal. So, whether he gets 2 hits a game, 1 hits a game, no hits a game. I mean, one of the biggest things he ever did was take a hit by pitch off an SEC lefty throwing 96, and it helped us win that game. That's who he is. And he made that play in the 9th inning. He was kind of dancing around like a ballerina out there, but who he is a winner. And I don't care if it's early in the year when his batting average is lower, or he's struck out a few times, or it's later in the year and he's taking better swings and all that. That's what the kid is to me. And the more he and his teammates separate each game, and really you could separate each inning if you're really a mental ninja, the better off you are, and probably the better you perform.
I know you talk about, guys who move up and down the lineup, and it, doesn't always really matter in the long run, but keeping a guy like Max up there, and moving him to lead off some, do you think that can show faith in a player? I mean, you played this game. I imagine that a coach doing something like that for you has probably got to help.
I do think that's the case. Unfortunately, I'm always kind of tiptoeing around situations. We wanted to try different things tonight. So, Cortland Lawson was playing a hell of a game. But Liam Spence sure seems to get on base a lot. So we needed a run, and it was a leadoff at bat, and that's where Liam feels comfortable. So we make that change. So you hope the player sees that, hey, it's out of my control. Coach makes it. It shouldn't lower his confidence. But I agree 100%. If a coach, sends a guy back out there with true faith in him to get guys out after maybe he got hit around a time or two or whatever it might be, then, he should feel a sense of pride, and he should feel like the coaching staff has his back. Ultimately, the player needs to be their best coach and also be the dictator of how they see themselves in the mirror, not let other people joystick that. But you are accurate. As a former player, we all know you want to feel like you're at least believed in. But look at I mean, hey, we're kind of playing with fire here. Last week, this week, if we lose, you guys have every right to grill me and say, why the heck didn't you have your normal starting shortstop out there or whatever it is? So hopefully these kids all know we like competition. We don't mind trying different stuff, even if every now and then it doesn't work. And also it feels nice to sit up in the office and be like, you know what? I trust that guy. I trust that guy. Let's try this guy this week. I trust that guy.
We'll go to Trey next.
Hey, Tony, coming off this weekend, how does a gritty game like this tonight, where you're having to move different guys around by choice, but also pulling it out at the end, get you guys ready for a trip to College Station? And then second, can you update what things are looking like with Connor for the weekend?
Yeah. I said yesterday on the radio, he broke a new world record. He squeezed a bottle of shampoo on Monday, and the record he broke was telling probably 57 people that he squeezed a shampoo bottle. And then today he was able to play catch and kind of squeeze a stress ball. So he's making progress. The same thing happened to me. It caught more in the middle of my hand and broke my hand for my last couple of weeks of my senior year. I thought that's what happened to him. He got it more on the side. So it's just swollen. He's got grip strength. He'll be fine. We'll need to make an educated decision on what game he'll play in this weekend, but I'd assume he'd be fine. The game tonight, I think, just falls in line with the group we have. I mean, yeah, it came after an emotional series, and yes, we want to be confident going into a road series, but I think it's middle of April. It's muck and grind time. And I said that to the team, and none of these guys watch any hockey. So, they don't know what muck and grind means, but it's time to get in the corners a little bit and maybe take an elbow to the face and maybe dish one out. It's finished school strong, continue to get stronger in the weight room, get through kind of the thick of the season when we do have 4 games a week. And what'll come out on the other end is a really fun May with great weather and outstanding SEC, almost only competition in May, but we're not there yet. So we'll take wins and we'll take productive days on the field any way we can get them right now in the middle of April.
Are you excited to follow up? Are you excited to kind of get back on the road again and see how these guys respond in probably an interesting atmosphere in College Station?
Yeah, it's different in every park you go to, and their fan base is unique unto their own. And I don't know how they set up their stadium with protocols, but their fans will come out and be there. But it's kind of weird you ask that, because it kind of hit me as soon as the game was over. Okay, what's next? We got to post a travel roster, and it's kind of time to get back on the road. Obviously, we love playing here. The last 2 weekends have been phenomenal, but you kind of get in a routine and you're used to bouncing back and forth every other weekend. So I think it's time to pack the bags up again and take another road trip. The guys get a little closer, I think, when we're on the road. I think they embrace the challenge of being somewhere different and kind of enjoy the experience, because it's going to be tough. It doesn't matter if you're on our field or another field. You're going to face some awfully strong competition in our league. So it'll be good to get on a plane Thursday. It won't be the normal charter flight, fly like a big leaguer like most of the SEC teams get to do, or we're fortunate enough. We'll break it up because of COVID stuff, but we'll get down there and we'll have a workout on Thursday and then get after it on Friday.
We'll go back to Ben. I'll just remind you guys, we won't have our normal Thursday media availability due to travel. So if you have any questions for this weekend, go ahead and ask them tonight.
Tony, wanted to ask you about 2 things with the lineup tonight, just with Steenstra at first and then moving Beck to 7th. Is that possibly a permanent thing or just a midweek science project? And how did you think those guys did in those roles?
I think they did well. I mean, Steenstra made a huge pick at first base. Christian Scott put together a really strong game. Booker laced that ball to center. He seems to always play well on Tuesdays. And Cortland was outstanding, as I mentioned before. Rackers had a good start. So I think the guys we gave different opportunities to did pretty well. I mean, save a couple, pinch hit situations. But just to give full disclosure, the plan was to have Steenstra at first to get some reps over there. It's a spot he's going to need to be able to play. he was up in the order because we want to get him a couple of at bats before we pulled him out, which we did. And then we wanted to see him on the mound, and it didn't happen. So that time's coming. I don't think it's coming in College Station, but that time is coming where he gets his opportunity to do that as well.
We'll go back to Wes.
Yeah, Tony, you said I guess 2 days ago that you kind of wanted Beck to look in a mirror and realize how athletic he is and just kind of relax a little bit. Well, with that swing he put on that 2-strike ball out of the park and then that slide into home, maybe he was listening, I guess.
Well, possible. I've kind of asked a few different times, like, what all do our guys listen to, or what do they hear? Because I'm kind of on the Tom Izzo thing, the less the better, and have some rules where you have some boundaries with social media and things like that. But there are some good things that come out of social media as well. And, you know, I look back on it kind of like you're saying, and I wish he would have heard that, or maybe I just need to bow up to him and say that. But in the dugout, we all kind of just yelled at him, "Hey, great time for a home run." And he did it. And you can't do that on command, but he's pretty dang good. And I think the key to your question or phrasing was 2 strikes. I think he relaxed a little bit with 2 strikes, and he got into his legs a little bit more, and he launched that thing. And then that play for him was very, very difficult. When you're at second base and that ball goes through the right side like that, you don't have a good angle. So normally it would have been a lot tighter at the plate. A good throw maybe gets him because of where they were positioned, but also because he couldn't go right away with 1 out. He had to make sure that line drive didn't get caught. And, fortunately, he was athletic enough to get around that deal. And, I think the umpires only replayed that. That was the shortest replay we've had all year. I'd love if they were all like that.
All right, we'll go back to Ben and then to Gustavo after that.
Tony, just wanted to ask you about A&M and just kind of what you've seen from them this year. Seems like they kind of picked it up a little bit last week against Arkansas. What's going to be key for you this weekend?
It's cheesy, but this team, more than ever, and I know we've had some success, but more than any team I can remember in very recent history for myself being a part of, just needs to be themselves. And some guys have fluctuated, and it's like one day they're not, and one day they are. There's been some guys early on that were not, and then there's been some guys that early on they were, but have now kind of shifted towards, they've gotten caught up in the repetitions a little bit. And that's kind of why I went on my tangent earlier is, every day can be opening day if you want it to be. And each repetition can be unique unto its own. So just because you're Max Ferguson and you haven't really sniffed it all night long in your at-bats doesn't mean on this particular occasion you can't be the guy to get it done and end it, So I think that's so key for this group. It's really kind of happened on the mound and at the plate equally as of late. Early on, it was a little more of the hitters doing that. I think our defense has really picked up from day one of the season, and I have full confidence in it. And I like the fact it's like last year, we have a bunch of guys who can play different positions. But I think we need to go down there and be the best version of ourselves. Again, as cheesy as that sounds, but that only comes with guys kind of being who they are, no more, no less. And yeah, anytime you win at Baum Stadium or win any game on the road in the SEC, it's huge. And they probably, I don't know if they even played tonight. We'll pick up our scouting on them, and I'll know much more after tonight. But to win that game on Sunday has got to be a shot in the arm for them, and I think they won it in fairly dramatic fashion. And they played a couple other tight games down there too, so they're battle tested. And they're like everyone. They're hungry for their best baseball down the road. So nothing is going to be easy in this league. Nothing's going to be easy when you're on the road. So when you combine the two, it's a good challenge for our guys. But that's kind of what they've been seeking out all year long.
Coach, congratulations on the win. And how tough was to win today? It feels like your team has a little bit of hangover after all the emotions that went throughout the series versus Vanderbilt. How tough was to get a win, in dramatic fashion today, kind of recovering from like a really, kind of overwhelming series on the weekend?
It's different, but Tennessee Tech also played very well. I mean, Frank and I know, and Josh does too, Steve Smith, their new head coach or recently new head coach, from his days at Baylor, and we ran into his teams a bunch. They're always well coached. Kids from, their roster has a lot of Tennessee kids on it or close to our state border. They're going to want to come in here and play good ball, and they did. And no, we did not play exactly our best, and we did leave some guys on base, but we've done that before. And, I would kind of point to what you're saying. No doubt on game day, it's a different vibe. But as far as energy or attitude or bouncing back from getting our butts kicked on Sunday, yesterday was a very energetic day at the park. And it was an off day for us, but guys were there, study hall, getting some food. Some guys lifted. A couple guys had to participate redshirt practice. There was a lot of energy in the park yesterday. And so I felt like they would be ready to play today. It just unfortunately was a little bit of surprise we didn't play a little bit better. But again, it's a lot easier to stand here, answer questions after you find a way to win than vice versa. So this is who we are, and this is who I hope we continue to be, is the find a way bunch.
Wes, we'll give you the last question.
Yeah, Tony, I know that, you're not crazy about talking about the number that goes next to y'all's name, there in the rankings and everything. But I imagine that probably opponents, they see that, they notice that, beating a top 10 or top 5 team is always a big deal. And y'all probably don't have the opportunity to sneak up on anyone anymore. Do you think this team is ready to kind of handle the responsibility that comes with that on a daily basis?
Well, I got asked a bunch, about our last conversation like this, which thinks it's via computer, but, what do you mean it was real valuable last weekend? Well, that's one way it was real valuable. I mean, you can't tell me that we weren't being hunted as much as we were hunting. It was, whatever the numbers were last week as far as the matchup goes. And then quite frankly, it's been a few weeks in, and you could even date back all the way to the preseason. A lot of these kids have not been on teams at any level, much less in their time here. I mean, Pete Durke's played a lot of games at Tennessee. None of them have come with a preseason ranking on his back or his teammates' back. So they've kind of dealt with it before. I think, this last weekend, you dealt with about everything you can wrap into one package. So if they're not ready, then they need to get a better head coach, I think. But in all seriousness, I think, last weekend brought a lot of stuff to the table for our club. It doesn't guarantee us success when those situations pop up again. But I think by now they should be comfortable in bathing in the fact that people think they're pretty good. I think they're a little overmarked as far as who we are and things like that. But I do know that we're capable of doing great things on the field, and that's all I care about.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.